So you're looking to get into tech, but can't decide what to focus on. Then one day you decide to start looking at boot camps because you heard that, hey, they're only 12 to 14 weeks. Can't be too hard, but hold up. Stay tuned. I might just save you some money. Welcome to Debt Friend IT. I'm your host, Mike. This podcast is for anyone looking to get in the IT industry, whether it's a career change or you're just interested, you come to the right place. So today we're talking about tech boot camps. So these boot camps have been around for a while. We all have heard of them. I've never tried none. I have my differences with them. You may be looking to get in a tech boot camp, or you may have been thinking whether should you spend this money on a tech boot camp. First off, let's look at what a tech boot camp is. So a tech boot camp, they pretty much offer to train you in a specialization, whether it's coding, cybersecurity, or networking, or any kind of technology in the IT industry. So they offer this training in a short amount of time, and usually some of them guarantee you a job or a job placement within so many months. Let's look at the cost and the time for these tech boot camps. So I looked up a Cisco CCNA boot camp. Right now, from what I could find online, they was ranging from $2,200 to $4,500, and they lasted anywhere from 5 days to 6 weeks. Then I looked up some cybersecurity boot camps, and they range from $9,000 to $20,000, and they average anywhere from 12 to 24 weeks. Then I looked up some coding boot camps, and they range from $10,000 to $15,000, and they last anywhere from 13 to 22 weeks for a full-time student, or 20 to 60 weeks for a part-time student. So as you can see, the cost of these boot camps can get up there kind of quickly. So please make sure you do your research before choosing to get in any kind of boot camp. If you're finding value in this episode, please leave me a review or a comment. If you have a friend that needs to hear this, please share this episode with them. So let's look at who should take a boot camp. So pretty much to me, anyone that should take a boot camp is someone, if you're doing a networking boot camp or a cybersecurity boot camp, and it's a short amount of time, I think the person that's best suited for taking these boot camps is someone who have learned that technology maybe a couple years ago and they need a refresher. I think they'll be good for a boot camp because they're not starting from ground zero. Even though some boot camps, they will say that they're going to train you from ground zero, but to me, it's kind of hard to believe seeing someone go through a networking boot camp in a week and without knowing nothing about networking at all, and then come out and get this high paying job. So sometimes it's just too good to be true in my eyes. Someone doing networking, if you already had it years ago, then I could see you getting a refresher in about 5 days and being pretty good at it. And then the other person who should take the boot camp is it has to be someone that got time to devote to learning it. So if you're doing a networking boot camp or a coding boot camp, which the coding boot camp, I think you definitely need some time to dig in and learn that because that coding, it doesn't come easy. So the people that's taking these boot camps, like I said, if it's a refresher, but you need to have time to devote to it. So with coding, I would say you're probably doing a couple, at least 10 hours or more a week of study and coding. So someone who has a full-time family, who has kids, who has other responsibilities where you can barely find an hour or two now to do something that you want to do, I don't think you'll be suited for a boot camp just because of the price and then at the short amount of time that some of them run. And even if it runs for a year, still, if you don't have the time to devote to it, I think it'll be a waste of your money because you need to have at least, I would say, at least 10 hours at a minimum a week that you'll be putting towards learning these technologies in order to fully learn it and fully understand it and be able to go out into the workforce and do these technologies and be able to perform. So my thoughts on boot camps. So pretty much the only boot camp that I think I've heard a lot of good success stories on is the coding boot camps. I know some of the networking boot camps and cybersecurity boot camps have recently started popping up, and I just haven't heard no success stories from it. So you may have heard some, but I haven't heard none so far. But with coding boot camps, you hear those a lot. And like I said, if when I went through the timing for the coding, some of those are up to a year or more. So I think then you'll have enough time to put into it if you got the hours to devote to learning that coding piece. But coding so far is the only one that I have heard success stories on. Uh, Cybersecurity, some of those boot camps, I think it'll be worth it if you can find one that's cheaper. And then also look into your local school because you may be able to find some courses there for it that's way cheaper than what the boot camps may cost. Now, I'm not saying don't do the boot camp. You know, everyone's journey is different, but just from looking at the prices, I know just from the prices would knock me out of trying to take a boot camp in the first place. As you looked, and we went over before, some of them was 10 to 12 grand, some of them was higher than that. So you pretty much buying a car or whatever. So it's a lot for a boot camp. You might be better off just enrolling in school and then learning it at your own pace or buying the curriculum yourself. With boot camps, I think they give a lot of false belief that you can land a job right out of the boot camp, which is usually not the case. And I think it kind of preys on people. It kind of gets people hopes up to where some people see that high price tag and they say, "Oh, if I'm paying 20 grand for this boot camp, then I know for sure I'm gonna come out and get a good paying job." When that's not always the case with boot camps because you go through it so fast, you may not have fully learned, or if you're doing something like coding, you may not be catching on to it, and you just wasted your money. And so that's one thing downside I don't like about boot camps is they give you that false belief of that when you finish this boot camp, you're gonna automatically have this high paying job, which is usually never the case. So like I said before, you take a boot camp before you spend your hard earned money. Make sure you do your research. Go on the website, look at reviews on Google on the boot camp. Make sure you find some credible sources that have taken that boot camp and they have a success story. So if you see someone review it, if they're on LinkedIn and they're reviewing it, shoot them a message. Like, make sure you do a lot of research before you get in one of these boot camps. But not all boot camps are bad. Like I said, if it's a refresher for you, then I can understand you taking that boot camp and being successful at it. I know this episode was a little bit short, but I just wanted to get that off my chest about these boot camps. So don't forget to follow me on IG and TikTok at Debt Free and IT. If you have any questions, comments, or topic suggestions, please email them to me also. And I'll see you next episode. Peace.